Hey everybody, so I just got off the plane and I am now in Tunisia, which is the northernmost country in Africa, as well as a former part of the Roman Empire. And within the first few minutes of being here, I saw two separate guys peeing in public. So I expect this to be a good one. I've been walking under the highway for a little bit, and just in case you were wondering, Tunisia has probably as much graffiti as your country does, if not a little more. I flew into the capital city of Tunisia, which is called Tunis, and I will be here for the next few nights. And after that, I plan to take a train down to the southern part of the country, where I will be in the Sahara Desert. Obviously looking forward to that quite a bit. I came across what appears to be some sort of incomplete stadium. I don't know if this is a work in progress or not, but there is a large fence around it, and I can't investigate further than this. So if you happen to know what this is about, please tell me. I found a few other stadiums, and I found this sign over here that says Tunis 2001. Now I know that 2001 was not an Olympics year, but there may have been an Olympics adjacent event that went on here. I do not know, and I do not care further than this. So I've been to two other African countries prior to this. The first one was Morocco. The second one was Kenya. Now, because they're both in North Africa, Morocco and Tunisia often get compared to each other. But from what I can tell, Tunisia doesn't have quite the number of tourists that Morocco does, which means I think it has like less scamming and whatnot, so that should be nice. This part of the world is also known for its cats. There are a lot of wild cats around. Ooh, there is one right over here. See? Yeah, so I'm gonna be including those guys whenever I get the chance. I picked the right time of year to come here. Most of the year it's like 100 degrees here, but right now it's in the 60s, and that is objectively the best temperature. I didn't want to record this, but I just saw a 7-year-old kid driving around on a motorcycle. It was pretty badass. I just got some local pizza from this place. I just sat down on a park bench with my Pizza Hut pizza, and to be honest, it doesn't look or smell the greatest. But luckily there are cats over there, and so they might like my pizza if I don't. I spent all last night on a plane, and I got maybe like 3 hours of sleep, and I should be getting sleep now, but I kind of just want to watch these cats. Well, I'm glad to say that I just got about 10 hours of sleep last night. It was very much needed. And today I am off to Carthage, which is famous for being both part of the Roman Empire and fighting with the Roman Empire back in the day. But now it is a suburb of the greater Tunis area. My original plan was to take the metro train over to Carthage, but apparently that's not running today. So my plan is to wait for the bus and admire that clock tower in the distance. I made it to Carthage, and apparently this is what it looks like. And as you can see, there are random ruins just lying about in the middle of Carthage. According to Google Maps, this is the port of Carthage. But more importantly, a couple minutes ago, I saw a kid dressed up as Santa Claus. Kids are pretty crazy around here. From what I can tell, Carthage seems like a pretty wealthy suburb. You know, that's of course surrounded by just history and whatnot. A little bit about the history of Carthage. Carthage used to be its own empire, named after the city. But then the Romans came along and they fought in the Punic Wars. And then when the Romans took over, they rebuilt Carthage. And I believe what we're seeing here is the ruins of much of what was rebuilt by the Romans. Also, there's a cat. The cat's been following me. Many of the ruins that remain are on top of a hill that overlooks a lot of recently built buildings. So this is kind of a cool view. Here is an ancient amphitheater. Seems pretty cool, but unfortunately no gladiators have been murdered here lately. I am now at what is apparently called the Baths of Antonius. And I think this is the coolest set of ruins yet because these ones are pretty extensive and you can walk through them. Here's a quick walking tour of this area. I just double checked and I got the guy's name wrong. Apparently this is called the Baths of Antoninus or something like that. I don't know. The only thing I've had to eat for the past day was that shitty pizza and some cookies. So I'm kind of out of it. I kind of need to eat, but I'm enjoying this too much. You know, I can walk around these ruins forever. These things never get old. So I was just walking across town, you know, minding my own business. And I see on the right that there's a big old palace that belongs to the president. And there are a bunch of signs saying, hey, don't fucking film here. As well as a bunch of guards to make sure that nobody films there. So needless to say, I did not film there. But if you're curious, you can look it up for yourself. I gotta say that the palace looks pretty nice. I just went to an Italian place and ate a chicken sandwich there. It was quite good. And now I am in the next town, a name that I'm not looking forward to pronouncing. It's called like Sidi Bou Said, I think. Let's just call it City for short. To be honest, I went to this town knowing that it was a touristy destination, but I didn't know why. And I found out that one of the reasons why is because it has this great view of the sea. Over there you can see even some mountains in the distance, which I'm not sure if those are part of the Atlas Mountains, but that wouldn't surprise me. I should mention that this town is very blue. Basically all the buildings are both white and blue. And it is hilly. It's white, blue, and hilly. So because I'm in the blue city, I've got to have some blue ice cream. And I've already had a bite of it, and it's some of the best blue ice cream I've ever had. There's this city park that I'm in. It's surprisingly beautiful. It's got a bunch of plants and stuff. But unfortunately, I have to get going back. Firstly, because it's starting to rain. And secondly, because there are some dogs that are right outside my Airbnb. And they seem to get pretty aggressive at night. I have a little bit of a dilemma. I'm trying to get back to my Airbnb without using a taxi because I don't like using taxis when I don't have to. And it seems like my options are to find a bus station or to wait at this train station. Now, I didn't think that the trains were running today, but I did see a train just now going the opposite direction. So, and I don't have access to the schedule, and there doesn't seem to be anybody else waiting for the train in this direction. I think I'm going to wait here for maybe like 10 minutes, and if nothing shows up, then I will look for a bus. Good news, my bet just paid off, although it's in that direction, so shit. I made it onto the train. Turns out that the train only goes about halfway to where I wanted to go, and that I have to take the bus anyway to get to where I want to go. I finally got back to the city, and as soon as I did, some kid came up to me and asked for money, and I told him no. And then he told me, "Fuck you." Kids here fucking rule. It's now the next morning. I slept in a lot, and it is raining a lot. So we'll see how much exploring I do today. Probably not a whole lot. The rain is starting to die down a little bit, finally. I went to a cafe to wait it out, and I ordered a tea and a piece of bread. And the guy ended up giving me a full course meal. It was only like $7. So that was a pleasant surprise. Unfortunately, the people there were smoking a lot, and I'm one of those pussies who doesn't like that. Here's a bit of recent history for you. Back in 2010, there was a street vendor who was living in the town of Tunis, and he was being fucked around by local government officials. And so he decided to light himself on fire, and that inspired a wave of protests across the Arab world, known as the Arab Spring. That, of course, led to many leaders being overthrown. So yeah, this place is recently historically significant as well. Yesterday I went to one UNESCO heritage site, which was the ruins of Carthage. And today I am going to the Medina of Tunis, which is another one. So Medina is basically like the old town of a town. And it's basically like one big maze. I remember seeing a few of them in Morocco, and they're pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to exploring this one. This is what the streets look like in Medina. Very old and windy and confusing, and a lot of fun to explore. As you can see, the Medina has a lot of shops. It's basically one big market in certain areas of it. So I'll get back to the Medina later. It started raining, so I ran over to a mall. I'm gonna wait it out here, and it seems like a pretty decent place to wait it out. I just checked the forecast, and it looks like the rain is gonna go on and off all day. I should really start checking the forecast before I leave the house. Looks like the rain stopped again for now. Walking through the center of town, and check this out. The architecture here is just beautiful. This cat looks so sad. I hope he's doing all right. Awfully brave of these pigeons to be in a city with so many cats. They can fly anywhere. They don't have to be in a place that has so many cats. I'm back in the Medina. So the most famous Medina, I think, is one in Morocco, in a city called Marrakesh. But that one has a lot of tourists, and so because of that, it has a lot of scammers as well. Whereas here, I haven't faced any such, harassment or anything. It's been pretty nice here. Well, that was a nice little Medina. Definitely less scammy than the one in Marrakesh. Unfortunately, walking around in Medina is still a bit stressful because, you're never sure like which streets you're allowed to walk down. Some of them are private, and then, people start yelling at you if you start walking down them. So for now, I think I'm going to go over to a park and rest on a bench for a bit. Now here's a change of pace. Instead of some cats, I got some ducks. As you may or may not know, alcohol is typically banned in Muslim majority countries, but not this one. I got some bad news and I got some good news. The bad news is that it rained all night and it looks like it's going to continue raining today. The good news is that I found a Papa John's on the map, and that's where we're off to today. This poor little guy seems to have a broken foot. Or he has a broken leg. I found this obelisk thing. I also found a scary gang of dogs over there. I'm not gonna fuck with them. They seem pretty tough. I'm not gonna fuck with those dogs. Check this out. I found this abandoned car mechanic shop. I want to go inside of it, but I don't know if I'm able to. Looks like the door is wide open. Hoping I'm not bothering anybody here. Looks pretty empty. Oh yeah, you can see all the tires that were abandoned. All right. Huh, I guess there wasn't much to it. Still pretty cool. I'm gonna post pictures of that place to Reddit. The guys on r/abandoned porn love that shit. There's this idea that McDonald's is the biggest restaurant in the world, and honestly it might be KFC. I know that, at least in this country, there are no McDonald's, but there are a few KFCs. When I made the video in Guatemala, people got mad at me for eating Papa John's there. So to all those haters, I just ordered 2 Papa John's pizzas. I guess I should clarify that the reason why I got 2 pizzas was because there is a buy one, get one free deal. So now I'm walking around with a pizza, in addition to the large bottle of water that I had bought before that. Honestly, I could be in a worse situation. When I'm in a new city for a few days, I typically like to spend a day just walking around like the suburbs. Ooh, there's some cats here. And I've got to say that the suburbs here are pretty nice. The homes don't look too dissimilar from what you would see in the US. The major difference, of course, is that they have a lot of walls around them. I imagine because of the wealth inequality here. When people talk about the collapse of America, they talk about it as if there's going to be one day when everything stops working and the lights turn off. I don't think it's going to look like that. I think what's going to happen is that wealth inequality is going to grow, and it'll get to the point where people with houses will have to, feel the need to build walls around them. Because right now, things are pretty safe in the US, all things considered. Obviously, you have some dangerous areas, but for the most part, people can, live their lives without feeling like they need to board everything up. And I think that's going to be an important milestone if we don't stop wealth inequality. Anyway, vote Bernie Sanders 2028. All right, so good news. I dropped my pizza off at the apartment, as well as my water. And even better news is that it hasn't been raining today. That's pretty good news. I noticed on the map that there is a Japanese garden in town. So I just arrived here, and I've got to say that this is the most Tunisian Japanese garden I've ever seen. Full disclosure, Japan is my favorite country of anywhere that I've been to, and I hope to go there again someday soon. But with that being said, I am the only weeb who hates anime. I think anime sucks, and I hate it, but I love the rest of Japan. A few seconds ago, I said that I love everything about Japan that is not anime. And I should clarify that there are other things about Japan that I do not like. For example, the Japanese government's continued denial of their war crimes against the Korean people. I do not like that about Japan. This botanical garden would be nicer if there weren't a very busy highway right next to it. Otherwise, no complaints. Well, it is another rainy day in Tunisia. I genuinely had no idea that it could rain this much here. But anyway, I am going down to the train station now, where I will ride a train to the southern part of the country. My original plan was to go south to a town called El Jem, but unfortunately my Airbnb there had to cancel, and there were no other bookings available when I had to rebook. So instead, I'm going to a town called Sfax for the night. It is spelled S-F-A-X, and I think that's a pretty badass way to spell a town. Made it to the main train station. This is what it looks like. Here's what the trains look like. I think they're regular speed trains, not high-speed trains. The ones in Morocco are high-speed trains. They go pretty fast. Well, the train is about 15 minutes late so far. Hoping it shows up soon. I don't have anywhere to be urgently, I just don't like being late. And just after I stopped bitching, it showed up. So this is where I'm gonna be for the next 4 hours, I think. And then I'll be in Sfax. In case you were wondering, this is what the toilet looks like. Finally made it to Sfax. That was a horribly long journey, so I think I'm just gonna call it a day. Alright, so today's plan is to explore Sfax for a little bit, and then in the afternoon I'm gonna board a train that goes into the Sahara Desert. I'll be going to a town called Gafsa, and I should be arriving there in the evening. If it's not too late, if it is too late like it was yesterday, I will get in very late. I believe Sfax is the second biggest city in Tunisia, and that is why I will be returning later on next week to explore more of it over a couple of days. But for now, I'm just here for, I don't know, maybe a couple hours. My first impression of Sfax is there really aren't that many cats here. I don't think I remember seeing any, really. Compared to Tunis, there were a bunch over there. But I don't know, maybe I'm just not in the cat part of town. Never mind what I said. Here's a cat. Hey, what's up, little guy? So I don't know how many good food options there are going to be in, well, you know, the desert. So I'm coming prepared. Just bought a bunch of cookies. Sfax is a major port city in Tunisia. It's right up along the Mediterranean Sea. And, well, here's the port. I was going to film closer to the actual port, and then I saw a sign warning me explicitly against that. And I don't want to piss off the Tunisian government, especially when I'm in Tunisia. When you travel to places in the world that are, you know, let's say more off the beaten path, one issue that you run into is that the information on Google Maps is not necessarily accurate. That makes it difficult to find restaurants because a lot of them are marked in different locations than they actually are. But the good news is that I was able to find a decent enough place to eat. I got a chicken sandwich just now and some fries, and all of that cost about $1. And I felt bad for paying only that much, so I gave them like a few more dollars on top of that. And they were very nice about it. They refused it initially, but then they accepted it, so that was cool. Still got a couple of hours before my train leaves, so I'm gonna wander around the market in Medina for a bit. As I mentioned earlier, the Medinas that I went to in Morocco were quite a bit more filled with tourists, but at least so far, I don't think I've seen any other tourists here. Right now I'm passing the time by waiting for this scalding hot tea to become drinkable. I just gave this cat some of my chicken sandwich. Now he's meowing at me. Ungrateful little shit. From what I can tell, garbage seems to be their main source of food. I don't blame you. I would do the same if I was a cat. I'm waiting in here for the next train. Already it's 10 minutes late. I think I'm noticing a pattern in this country. The train was supposed to come at 2:30, and it is now well after that. It is now 3:43, and it looks like we are about to leave on the train. Like from the inside. There were a lot more people on it earlier, but turns out not too many people go out to the middle of the desert. Well, I made it into town. before 8 o'clock, so that was earlier than expected. I was talking to a very nice family last night, and we talked about a lot. They did tell me that when a foreigner comes to Tunisia, the government tracks them. So, and especially now that I'm like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, I might have like a plainclothes police officer follow me around a little bit during some parts of my journey. A little nervous about that. And I especially need to look out for any places where I'm not allowed to film, because they will take me away for that. So yeah, that's good to know. I have to be on the lookout not to film anything that's owned by either the cops or the military, because that is super illegal. I should also mention that I'm getting a lot of stares. This is not a place where foreigners typically go, so people are not used to seeing people like me here. Fuck, these guys really are everywhere. This town is a town called Gafsa in the center of Tunisia, and it's a mining town. And from what I've heard, a lot of the water is being diverted to the mining process, and so there's a curfew on water usage. The water just shuts off at night in order to prevent people from using more water. That's just what I heard. The main languages of Tunisia are French and Arabic. If you go to some of the larger towns that I was recently in, a lot of people also speak some English, but that is very rare in more remote towns like this one. So in theory, I can say the word penis here and nobody would care. Having said that, I did just have a couple of kids come up to me and say hello. They seem very excited, and they seem to know some English, so maybe I'll find somewhere else to say the word penis. I've walked around a few miles with my backpack on. My shoulder's starting to really fucking hurt, so for now I'm just sitting down in this park. Just got a chicken sandwich again. So this is how they make the sandwiches here. They've got like the French fries inside the sandwich, and then like a regular sandwich under that. This town has a couple of ancient ruins left from the Roman days, and this is one of the ancient Roman pools. I believe there's another one right over here. These stairs seem to go a little bit of the way down, and then they just stop. I guess it makes a difference if there's water in the pool. I am now on my way to the town's bus station, where I hope to go to Tozeur, which is, I think that's how you pronounce it, Tozeur. It's the town that's kind of at the edge of Tunisia. And I'm hoping to take either a bus or a louage. A louage is a pretty common form of transportation here. It's basically a big taxi, and it fits 8 people, and there's no schedule for it, but as soon as 8 people show up, it leaves. So we'll see which one I end up finding. This is what those louages look like. Found one going to Tozeur. Now it's just time to wait for people to show up. Looks like it won't be too long. Well, I'm in Tozeur now, and on the drive over here, we got randomly pulled over at a police checkpoint, and the cops asked to see every one of our IDs. And after that, they pulled aside 2 people, me and a local magician. So we went into an interrogation room, and they didn't ask us any questions. They just looked through our bags. And after that, they let us go without any questions. So I didn't get arrested, and I didn't have to bribe any cops. So overall, not a bad experience. I've had worse in Panama. Anyway, after that, the magician showed me a bunch of his magic tricks, and he showed me how much he likes the Joker. So I guess that type of guy exists everywhere. Here's the town's train yard. According to one guy I just talked to, it's abandoned. There hasn't been a train here in 3 years, which sucks because I was sort of hoping to take one in a couple days, but now I gotta do some research. This town definitely feels more like it's in the Sahara Desert. The previous town was more of an oasis and things were greener. This is just sand everywhere. I can feel sand in my teeth. I've only been here for like 10 minutes. Normally I don't really care where I stay, but check this place out. So I got the bed here, and then I got all this stuff with a bathroom back there, and then I got this. Ow, fuck. Whatever, that's staying in the video. When I'm in these types of countries, I usually spend about $15 per night on Airbnbs. But this town is a bit smaller, and so the options are a bit more limited. So that, I think that place was what, like $30 a night, which for me is a lot. I try to travel as cheaply as possible. Yeah. Before I call it a night, I'm gonna go to the supermarket to get some food. That's right, even towns in the middle of the Sahara Desert have supermarkets. What a future we live in. This is what a grocery store looks like in the middle of the desert. It's even got TVs and shit. I'm gonna call it a night. That is the end of my first week of 2 weeks in Tunisia. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to where they filmed Star Wars, but that's gonna have to wait till a different video. See ya.